Welcome to the SOB radio show, where we have fun, interesting guests, and hot topics. Each week, we offer insights into music, fashion, health, fitness, and humor. Do you have the perfect guest for us to interview? I want to know. Drop me a line on our Facebook page at SpunkyOldBroad1 or reach out to me on our website at SpunkyOldBroad.com. And now, back to the show. Hi, everybody. I'm back with Alison and Alison Harris, who is a breast cancer survivor and a wellness coach. And I want to get into now what you're doing, Alison, with your life at this point. You became a wellness coach about 3 years ago. So why did you do this, and what does it give you?
Okay. Well, as I said before the break, I spent about 3 years studying both nutrition and NLP, and I really did it for myself. I did it because I just thought this is going to help me survive. This is going to help me get better and stay well. And so it's for purely selfish reasons that I studied those things. And yet, the more I discovered, the more I thought I need to share this with other people. You know, this is mind-blowing stuff, and not everybody knows this. So it kind of reawakened the teacher in me. You know, when I left teaching, I lost quite a lot of confidence. Even though I'd done it very confidently for 22 years, at the end I wasn't. And so suddenly here I was after doing this and being in a much better place physically, emotionally, mentally. I thought, right, I wanted, what can I do with this? I need, I want to help other people. And so someone I knew asked me to do a workshop about what I do a presentation. Actually, I'm thinking about it now. It was in one of my NLP courses. And I stood up and I did this presentation, and I just got a buzz from doing it. And I thought, yeah, you can, what is it? You can take the girl out of teaching, but you can't take teaching out of the girl. I thought I really love doing this, and this is my passion, helping other people. And so I looked into becoming self-employed and how I might do this, and decided to set up as a wellness coach. So for me, it was about doing workshops, doing talks, as well as doing some one-to-one. I'd done a coaching course, so I thought I can also help people on a one-to-one basis. So it gives me a buzz. It gives me a buzz to see people, just like the teaching did. It gives me a buzz to see people finding that light bulb moment and changing, shifting, making that shift in their own lives, just the way I had done. And the good thing about NLP is that when people come to you on a one-to-one basis, unlike counseling, which can focus a lot on the past, NLP is much more about future focus. And so it's about really making changes quite quickly. So to see that happen with other people is just great. And so it gives me a buzz. It's my passion now. Health and well-being is my passion. So
I love that you say all of that, because I do believe you can't look back. I mean, what was. You have to look forward, and being that NLP helps you do that, that's such a valuable tool to have in your arsenal. And as I think back about all the things that you're talking about, I know that when I was first diagnosed, my sister is a psychotherapist, and she studies a lot of medicine. And when I told her about this, she said to me, at the time, she said I should have a double mastectomy, because she said the kind of cancer I had would be a mirror image in the other breast, which is exactly what happened a year later. But I wasn't psychologically ready to have a double mastectomy. I wasn't even ready to have a single one. So I didn't do it, which I'm sorry for now, because I could have saved myself a lot of surgeries and a lot of grief. But she also said, and it seems in the things that I've read, that stress has a lot to do with the development of any cancer. And so, and especially breast cancer. And so, as I think back, even though I did not think I was stressed, I was stressed because I was running all over the world. I had I had built my first business up from 1 to 7 offices and 350 people, which I never want to do again. And I was working, I did 50 countries and 49 states speaking and coaching. So I was like this whirlwind. So you discovered something very important with NLP and with looking to the future and with analyzing stress. So what are some other ways that you are now maintaining your state of well-being?
I suppose when I look back and think how much my life has changed and the changes that I've made to it, on the one hand, it's the food. I do think food is very, very significant because, again, if we put things into our body that shouldn't be there, then the body is in a low level of stress. So, stress is about toxicity, and whether that's toxicity in terms of what we put into our bodies or toxicity in the mind, both things create stress. So, as I say, I eat much more clean food, clean, healthy food, and I really enjoy food. That's the other thing, you have to enjoy it. In terms of the mindset, stress, I let go of a lot of resentment and anger and lots of things that I know now I would replay in my head all of the time. And it was self-criticism. A lot of it was self-criticism, things that I hadn't done well and beating myself up for things because I had this I'm not good enough stuff. So I've let go of a lot of that. I'm much, much more kind to myself. I've learned to say no. So, being Superwoman, absolutely, we can be running around and it's great. I know it's great to be busy. And, in our culture now, we've developed this thing of, well, it's great to be busy all the time. If we're not busy, then we're not successful. That's not true. So I've learned to kind of relax more, to slow down. I'm now out of the fast lane, and I truly believe that getting out of the fast lane some of the time, taking care of ourselves and our own well-being, mentally as well as physically, helps us to recharge and regenerate. Stress downgrades our immune system. It cannot function in the way it's supposed to when we are stressed. Stress is the fight or flight response, and it's supposed to be short-lived. When we're chronically stressed, then all of these systems do not work properly. And of course, when our immune system is depressed, then we are open to all kinds of things, not just cancer. And so, more recently, and it is quite recent, I found meditation. I resisted that for a long time. And yet, in the last year or so, I've been doing meditation. I found it so helpful in terms of bringing me back into a sense of balance, self-awareness, self-love, all of those things. And I've also learned to be grateful. So I've switched things around. Instead of doing a lot of mental complaining, I now am grateful for things. And, even in the midst of what's going on at the moment, I'm just grateful that we have a lovely home. I've got a beautiful garden. I'm healthy. It's the simple things really that I'm grateful for.
I love that term, mental complaining. I think a lot of people do that. They mentally complain. And you mentioned many things that I have discovered. One I have not discovered or do well is meditation. My form of meditation is petting my cats. I hate to say that, but that's my meditation. I'm not good at just sitting still. However, when they're in my lap, it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. On the other hand, the two things that you said which I did discover and I practice now, and it has made a big difference, is being grateful, number one, and also being forgiving. Those were two things that were difficult for me. I think it's probably because I was on such a speedy path that I just said, oh, yeah, that's great. But, I didn't really appreciate it. And when somebody did me wrong, I was really ticked. So now I've learned gratefulness and I've learned forgiveness. And I find that has really stood me well. So those are things that I learned as well. And slowing down does not mean not doing. And that's the other point that you brought out. Yeah, we are on this treadmill. And a friend of mine, and I've said this on the air many times, she said, Gayle, no is a complete sentence. So I've learned to say no. And it's almost more difficult now because I have so many Zoom meetings. I get 3 at 10 and 5 at 12 and 4 at 3. And you can't be on 5 places at one time. So I have to make a choice. And it seems like I'm more, and I hate to use that word again, busy, but I am from now because I'm not going place to place. I'm in one place and it's one meeting after another meeting, whether it is coaching or whether it's a business group or whether it's something I'm studying like a webinar or whatever it is, it's just constant. So I've just had to say no. And I do say no politely. I'll say, well, I have 3 choices at this time and this is what I'm choosing. And I'll say to the other group, the other 2, sorry, I am booked for this time and I can't do it. And now people are understanding because they're all getting the same, Zoom meetings at all these different times. But for you, because you've discovered all of this and you've discovered who you are, you've discovered how to be and how to face the future. What do you think the future holds for you, both personally and professionally?
Well, I guess I'm still on the journey. First of all, I don't always get it right, but I've learned not to beat myself up when I don't. So I still have moments of feeling anxious about things, and the difference is now that I can interrupt those patterns. So I in terms of the future, I guess I've reevaluated things, and I stick more to my core values now. I know what my core values are, and so I definitely, in terms of the future, I want to spend more time with my family and quality time. It's about quality time. It isn't about the amount of time. It is about quality time. And I've discovered, believe it or not, I've discovered gardening, which I've not really been a big gardener before. We now live in a house with a massive garden, so I've been learning all kinds of things that I never knew about before, and I'm finding that quite mindful. So it's just like you're saying about stroking the cats. It is a form of meditation. So if I do a bit of weeding, it's a form of meditation. I quite enjoy that. I've also just started doing foraging as well. So I'm into foraging and making my own kombucha tea and that kind of thing. So I'm really kind of going down that road. I'm loving it, really enjoying it. All of these things that I just thought were menial actually at one point, but actually they're not. I love them. So more of that, definitely. And in terms of professionally, I don't know whether this is procrastination or what, but I've been intending to write a book for about 6 years now, and I've started it probably 3 or 4 times. And it's funny, every time I've started it, I've suddenly got really, really busy with work. And so it's got put on the back burner. Now, I don't know whether that's me procrastinating or whether the timing just hasn't been right yet. I'm not sure. So I would like to write a book and complete that. And I also am really enjoying, it was just starting before we had this lockdown situation in the UK, collaborating with other people A friend and I are talking about setting up some sort of retreat, a wellbeing retreat. And so I'm really excited about that. I do like working with other people. Although I like to manage my own time, I'm also, I was a team player for a long time when I was teaching. So I do like to work with other people. So a couple of friends and I have got a few projects in terms of workshops and retreats, that kind of thing in the future.
Wow, that sounds fascinating. And it's interesting because I don't have a garden. I never did have a garden, but my mom had a garden way back when I was a kid. She had a garden in the backyard, and she grew. She always had flowers. I mean, always flowers, and we always had flowers in the home. But she also had a vegetable garden. So I remember her going back there, and she also did a lot of canning and all the things that I don't do. And she was such a good cook and such a good baker. Every party I ever had, she catered it herself. I mean, she was fabulous. And none of that dropped off on me because I was not interested. But I also think that all of that keeps your mind occupied. And that is such a valuable skill. I mean, all the things that you're doing now contribute to happiness rather than running on the treadmill, oh, I got to do this, I've got to do this, I've got to do this. And that's kind of also what I think, the lockdown has done for a lot of people, and it's all frustrated a lot of people. But for those people who are over 50, it has given them a chance to do some things that they just never thought about before. And I thought it was really interesting that a lot of people went back to doing puzzles because they are very stimulating to the mind, and just so many things that could be done. So what would you say that you would give as the most important piece of advice if someone said to you, I really want to make a change to my well-being? What kind of advice would you give them?
I would say to set that intention. It's very often people will say to me, oh, I want to get healthier, or I want to lose a bit of weight, or whatever. And that's very vague. Actually, to be really clear about why that's important to you and set that intention, then I would say that's the start. It's about making that decision. This is the perfect time to do it. You've had your wake up call, Gayle, and so have I. Mine was 10 years ago now. And so for me, that was okay. My intention is to do this. My intention is to focus my energy on my well-being. And, this is the perfect time to do it right now. So set the intention to nourish your body and nurture your mind, and in whatever way works for you. As you said, the things that I'm doing with the gardening and the foraging and all that kind of thing, that makes me happy. And so it's not the same for everybody. It's about doing things, finding things that make you happy and improve your well-being in whatever way you want, whether it's physically or emotionally or mentally. But set the intention first and focus on that. Wake up in the morning and say, today I'm going to nourish my body. Today I'm going to feel calmer, or whatever it might be. It's when we do that, we change the neural pathways in our brain. And when we change the neural pathways in our brain, we then find that we get drawn to the things that we need right then and there. I've got so many examples of people that I've coached that once they've made that decision, once they've set that intention, they suddenly find that they're drawn to things that they never knew existed, or they might say, do you know what, I just found this book, and suddenly they pick it up, and it's the book that they need right there, to sort of help with whatever it is that they intend to do. So set an intention, I think, is be really clear about what it is you want, And, the other thing I would say is, just going back to that analogy of driving down the freeway, is that take notice of those amber flashing lights. If you are feeling unwell, if you are not sleeping, if you are feeling irritable, if you're tearful, any of those things, if they are becoming a habit, that's your body's way of saying something is out of balance with you. And so that's the time maybe to pull over and, get out of the car, have a look around, and find out what it is, and what will serve you well. Because every little ache and pain we get, everything is a warning sign. And
yeah,
so
both men and women have a tendency. I mean, men probably more than women, but both men and women have a tendency to ignore the signals. Exactly like you say. You hear people saying, well, about a month ago, I was feeling kind of dizzy, but I didn't really think much about it. Or someone saying, yeah, I had this pain, but I didn't really pay attention. And then it turns out to be something significant. So absolutely. We have about 5 minutes left, Alison, and I know that you have some gifts that you'd like to offer to our listeners. You have some free resources on your website. You have some blog posts that are good. Where can people find these things? How can they get in touch with you, and so forth?
Okay, so my website is just www.alisonharriswellbeing.co.uk.
So let's do that again now. It's Alison,
okay.
Alison Harris, Harris, wellbeing, wellbeing, Alison Harris, wellbeing.co.uk. It's not .com, it's .co.uk, because Alison is in the UK. Okay, go ahead from there.
That's right. I do blogs on there, and a variety of blogs. So some of them are purely about nutrition. Others are much more about the mind and how we can reduce stress. There's stuff on there about the menopause as well. If anybody is going through that and wanting support with that, because that's something else I've learned about. There's a few simple recipes on there too. Lots and lots of resources on the blog page on my website that anybody can access. I also have a Facebook page, and again, I post on there regularly. There's some interviews on there that I've done, and again, it's lots of different aspects of well-being. So that's Alison Harris Wellbeing. My posts on Facebook tend to be a little bit more in depth, and mainly the sort of mindset stuff, really. I'm also on Instagram, and the Instagrams I tend to focus on the nutrition. So I might put something at the moment, because I've been doing a lot of foraging. There's stuff on there about different plants that you can use therapeutically, and occasionally little recipes on there. So there's lots of information on all three of those platforms, really, to help and support. And I keep it updated, particularly around what's going on at the moment. So there's a lot of stuff about the immune system, both on my Facebook page and on my website, because right now, boosting our immune system through both mindset and nutrition is really, really important.
I totally agree. And I think that if you're listening to this and you really want to become healthier and you want to really understand your mind, and I believe in mindset. So, I mean, I just believe your mind is the most important thing you've got. So a mindset to me is how you look at everything. So I want you to pay attention to that. And I also want to invite our listeners. I have a Facebook group now. It's called the Virtual SOB Club for Spunky Old Broad. So if you go to facebook.com/group/Virtual SOB Club, we'd love to have you as a member. I invite you to go to my website, spunkyoldbroad.com. But remember, Alison is got so much information and so much learning and so much history for you that you can find her at Alison Harris wellbeing.co.uk. Wow. This has been delightful, Alison. I hope it's been the same for you. I've learned a lot. It's going to have me revisiting some things I need to look at, and I really want to thank you for being with us today, because you've imparted so much necessary information about breast cancer, about menopause, about NLP, about cooking, and even, the things that you do to relax yourself. Very important. Thanks, Alison. It's been a great day. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been great talking to you, Gayle.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed it.